Hello everyone, welcome to LolKing's Pick of the Week. Before we start, I'd like to mention that we have a giveaway going on. We're giving away 5 $10 RP cards. Leave a comment telling us what video you'd like to see from us, and then click the video in the description to enter the giveaway. My name is Chakras, and each week we'll be highlighting a champion that we think is really strong in the current meta, whether its popularity comes from ranked games, competitive play, or even both. Today we look at Hecarim, played in the jungle role. With carry-oriented junglers losing part of their early game power, they can no longer constantly invade, and this opens up for other picks such as Hecarim to jungle safely and grow into the game. Aside from this, Trinity Force got a really nice buff. Let's start with the setup. For runes, armor penetration marks, armor seals, cooldown reduction glyphs, a mix of flat and per level, and movement speed quintessences. This should more or less be what your rune setup looks like for Hecarim. It gives a lot of mobility and damage to champions in ganks or duels. That said, if you're a beginner to Hecarim, you can run a setup to make sure your early clears are strong, so you can run attack damage marks and attack speed quints to clear faster, but you won't do as much damage early on in fights. For masteries, 12-0-18 with Strength of the Ages as your keystone. Not much to say here, standard jungling keystone. Fervor of Battle or even Storm Raider Surge can be options, but it's very situational, so just roll with Strength of the Ages for the extra tankiness. For skill order, you want to max your Q first, it's your main damage ability. After that, you want to max your E, Devastating Charge, second. Cooldown goes down quite a lot by putting ranks in it, and the damage also goes up significantly. An argument can be made for maxing Spirit of Dread second for sustaining in fights, but for the most part, it's not really worth it. Now for the item build. The absolute core item for Hecarim is Trinity Force. Usually this will be your first item after your jungle enchantment. Speaking of jungle enchantment, you should look to go for Cinderhulk as it complements Trinity Force by giving you the tankiness you would otherwise lack. From there, you should mostly look to build tank items to be able to get into the backline and stay there hitting the squishies without getting blown up. Usually, your go-to items for magic resistance and armor should be Spirit Visage and Dead Man's Plate respectively, as they give you important defensive stats, cooldown reduction, extra healing, and extra movement speed. Other than that, you can pick up other defensive items such as Randuin's Omen or Guardian Angel. If you're looking to get another offensive item, Yumu's Ghostblade should be your go-to item. Now that we've looked over his setup, let's talk about how he fares in different stages of the game. During the early game, the biggest focus for Hecarim is to actually get out of it, meaning you want to play carefully and ensure you don't get invaded, as you're not the strongest during your first clears. This is why Hunter's Potion is a very common buy for Hecarim early on, as he's somewhat squishy. Other than this, you should be looking to get off a lot of ganks. The more early kills and assists you get, the faster you get out of early game and can look to grab your core items. During mid game is when you start complementing your core items such as Trinity Force, Dead Man's Plate, or Spirit Visage. This is the point of the game when Hecarim is strongest. Dragon fights are frequent, which means a lot of skirmishes and team fights. Turrets have probably gone down at this point, meaning you can easily catch people out of position with your incredible movement speed and snowball off of pickoffs. Late game as Hecarim is still strong, as he's still good in skirmishes and pickoffs that can easily translate into getting objectives such as Elder Dragon or Baron. In team fights, it's not always as simple. Hecarim can be extremely rewarding, but sometimes you need to hit your ultimate on multiple people to make a dent in the beginning of a team fight. From there, constant Trinity Force procs alongside a lot of tankiness will make it easy to kill the backline if they don't have enough protection. Play smart and look for good opportunities to land good ultimates and focus down enemy carries. Lastly, for some tips. Hecarim isn't a mechanically complicated champion. It's mostly decision making and timing that will affect your performances. Timing your Spirit of Dread usage is absolutely imperative. You should use it right when you're in the middle of the enemies, dealing heavy damage to heal yourself back up. If you're at full HP, don't activate it. Instead, wait to lose a portion of it and then use that short window of time to get it back up. It only lasts 4 seconds, so remember to use it wisely. Devastating Charge is the ability you'll need to use best to get the most out of it. For starters, let it charge up before hitting someone for maximum possible damage. Always try to use it to flank enemies. If you're hitting them from the front, you might just knock them back and save them from you and your team. Remember, you can always use it as an escape tool, so you can knock back minions or even enemy champions to gain extra ground when escaping. On the topic of escaping, you can also use it to jump over walls if the enemy is close enough on the opposite side. This comes in handy to both run away from enemies and surprise them by closing a gap they thought you couldn't. That's going to be all for today. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, and I hope you guys enjoyed this pick of the week. Don't forget our giveaway, link is in the description.